Welcome everyone to the Nerd Nook. I'm your host Evan Teague, and with me, like always, is Noah Bailey. So it's been a little while since we've done like a real episode of this podcast, and over that little bit of time, been compiling a bunch of stories that I feel are just really, really dumb. Like almost every story we're going to talk about today is just a it's just going to be a weird episode. So let's do you want to start with video game stuff or do you want to start with Spider-Man stuff? Those are kind of the two major categories.
Spider-Man stuff, definitely.
Okay. So I almost didn't even really want to cover this because it, it's almost a non-story, but it was a story for a bit, and then let's get into it because it's one of those classic things where some idiot on Twitter says a thing, and then a bunch of different news outlets report on this thing this idiot on Twitter, this leaker on Twitter says, and then that story gets perpetuated, and everyone gets mad that whoever is messing up, like how dare they, blah blah blah, like and then to the point where when people who actually are working on the thing have to respond to it, that doesn't really get picked up, so people are still assuming the bad thing. So the bad thing that was reported was that apparently it was reported that Beyond the Spider-Verse had its entire production that was made up to this point completely scrapped and restarted. That's what the original rumor, that's what the inside sources were telling this person, that Sony wasn't happy with how things were going with Beyond the Spider-Verse, so they scrapped everything and basically had to start over. And over like the course of like a day, like every single major news outlet that covers comic book stuff, ran with a story and started like adding pieces that were never really a part of it, talking about like specific people on the team were unhappy or feuding with Sony or like just things that didn't seem to add up or were ever a part of the story. Um, to the point where Dan Pemberman, I believe that's the name, the guy that does the doing the score for the first two Spider Verse movies, he came out and was like, as far as I know, everything seems to be going fine. And then Chris Miller, one of the co-producers, was like, that's not true. Like everything's going just fine on our end. So that's the story, I guess. See what I mean by just a dumb story?
I mean, I guess it's just for clicks because whoever this random leaker was probably had a bunch of people, retweet or follow or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. People just, I don't, it's one of those things because this just happens in news now. This is just kind of a thing where it's like someone says anything, everyone just says breaking news
Mm-hmm.
per this person, even though, and they don't take the time to fact check it because now
Yep.
everyone's like, it's more important to be first than to be right, which is
Absolutely.
completely not what news should be for. You shouldn't just put inaccurate information just to say I got it out there first, especially when it's from a source that's not even like one of yours, just some guy. So it's like that's just
Mm-hmm.
terrible. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I've heard like it's like crazy because like it's like there's so many times where they'll just be like, "Oh, this is happening per this respected person," and then the person who was like, "I never said that," but like,
Uh-huh.
oh, but like, yeah, it is. It's just like we're just trying to get clicks. We're just trying to get traction
Mm-hmm.
to your website or your followers or whatever, and it's just like, dude, like just give accurate information. Don't worry about
Yeah,
like I don't know.
like I,
Which one have you
I
heard?
am chomping at the bit for any new information about this production. In the back of my mind, I'm not expecting it anytime before next winter. Just it's out of my mind. I don't expect it to come before that. If it does, great. But you know, that's the absolute earliest is next December. But I still
Oof.
want to know updates when possible. But this
Yeah.
report immediately was like, oh, all the production got scrapped due to like some conflict between the directors and Sony won out, and they had to basically restart production. It's not projected to be done until 2027. Like, okay, like I don't like. First of all, I don't know if this is true or not, but like considering that the original plan was for these movies to be released basically within 9 months of each other,
Hmm.
I feel like a lot of it was worked on simultaneously.
I would think so. It just kind of makes the most sense.
Yeah, like there's no possible way Sony at any point could have been confident with that March following a June release date. Like with Endgame and Infinity War and Endgame were filmed back to back. Same with Lord of the Rings. Like that's why these movies were able to be released 1 year apart. And obviously, delays happen. Like like even when they announced Beyond the Spider Verse would be March, I was always a little skeptical of that, especially with all the reports of alleged abuses with overworking and crunch and just not paying the animators the best and whatever. Like, give the movie as much time as it possibly needs to be the quality that it deserves. But clearly, it seemed clear at that time that a good amount of the movie was already being made, at least simultaneously with Across, so that it could theoretically come out the following March. And the only reason it got delayed was to give it more time, but also the writer's strike, like that, and writer and actor strike would have made it so that they couldn't work on the film really for that entire period. So
Mm.
that not necessarily because Sony wasn't happy with how it was going.
Right. But either way, still. But yeah, this whole oh yeah, we're just not yeah, the movie's just not happening now. Like no, it's not.
Yeah, and here's the thing, I feel like Chris Miller, co-director of the first one, producer of the second one, him coming out and saying that production is going smoothly, him saying it, like I take his word for it, but it is the producer's job, to try to keep PR going, just make sure production is going well. Like if there are any hiccups, he would be the first to say something about it. So it would make sense that he would release a statement. But I honestly kind of feel like Dan Pepperman, the guy that did the incredible score for the first two movies, I feel like his statement leads even more credibility to the to the rumors being false because like especially in these movies, his score is timed meticulously to what is happening on the screen. So if he is saying that things are going well, like he has to make the songs fit to what is being animated, and he's like, oh, animation is going fine. I feel like outside of the people actually animating it, he would be the next in line person to say that it's going fine. So I believe him quite a bit on this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean,
who's to
yeah.
say Sony hasn't made, as far as I know, Sony hasn't made any official statements yet. Um, they might have just let Chris Miller speak for them. I'm not sure, but we'll see. Again, hope it comes out next year. But if it doesn't, 2026 will be even crazier. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, honest. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't think they even really need to officially say anything because again, like
Hmm.
this isn't officially happening. You know what I mean? Like it's like just because
Hmm.
some guy said something clearly wrong, and granted, a lot of other people picked up on it, but still, it's like, come on, man. Like that's not. Let's not worry about this. Like this is not a real story, like you said. Like this is just.
I will say that it releasing this year would have been incredibly convenient because, you know, yeah, we had Deadpool Wolverine, but that was the only Marvel Studios movie. We have three other Sony Spider-Man movies coming out this year. Madam Web, Venom 3, and then Craven, supposedly coming out in December, but who knows if that actually get a hit then. Like this coming out, across or Beyond the Spider Verse coming out in like September. That probably would have been a pretty good time for this movie because Deadpool is wrapping up. There's not like a super big movie out at this point. I know Transformers 1 is coming out this weekend, but I don't really think that's going to blow the box office away. Um, like I'm glad it didn't come out in March because that was a crazy month for movies. That was Dune, that was the new Ghostbusters, which again didn't really do much, but that was the new Godzilla, Kung Fu Panda. Like there were a lot of movies out in March, so I'm kind of glad it didn't have to compete with all of those. But I'm also glad it didn't have to compete with this, what was happening in June and July either. But I think there could have been a good slot for it this year, as opposed to next year when we have Captain America 4, The Thunderbolts, Superman, Fantastic Four, Blade, baby, who knows?
Nah. Only ever gonna be one thing. Let's be
Jurassic
honest.
World, another Jurassic World's coming out next
Oh,
year.
that's right. They are doing. Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
Um, so like I don't I'm sure it could find a slot where there's, not much competition, but and I'm almost guarantee it'll be the best movie to come out in any given month it comes out in. But regardless,
Yes.
this would have been the best year for it. I personally feel, um,
Yeah.
especially if
Nothing
it
else
does
coming
get
out right
delayed.
now.
Yeah, like especially if it does get delayed to 2026 when we got an Avengers movie and also apparently Toy Story 5 and Shrek 5.
That's gonna be wild.
Yeah, like within weeks of each other there. There's one or two other kind of major movies. Coming out there. I can't remember exactly. Oh, the rumors of a new Spider-Man movie, like Tom Holland Spider-Man, which we'll get to in just a second, coming out then as well. So I want it now, but I also want it to be really good. Not that I have any doubt that it'll be good, but you know, it'll be good whenever it comes
Yeah.
out. So yeah,
I mean, now would be like the best time too. There's
yeah.
nothing really coming out. It's like it's been on Deadpool. It's been a while. That's kind of
Mm.
dead again. Like I don't even know what's in theaters right now. I couldn't even tell you.
Right now, we're kind of gearing up for like early horror. Like a lot of like Halloween movies start premiering in September. Like Beetlejuice came out this month. Uh, that movie Speak No Evil with James McAvoy. Um,
Oh, yeah. And there's like a Holly Berry scary movie also,
yes,
or
yes.
I don't remember what it's called, but
Uh,
something
Never Let Go.
something like
Maybe
that. I don't know.
that's what they say in
Yeah.
the trailer. Whatever. Uh, quick tangent. Um, So every now and then there seems to be like there seems to be a movie where a trailer for a movie is so prevalent that all of Twitter just completely clowns on this trailer. Where it's like every single time I go to this movie, go to the movies, this trailer plays. I'm getting tired of seeing this trailer. It's like that happened with Zootopia. Every like a lot of people were complaining about that one sloth trailer for Zootopia playing for every single movie they went to. I don't know. There's a couple of other times I can't think of right now where like that kind of thing happened. Where like, yeah, I'm going to the movies. I hope I to meet my old friend. This trailer that happened with Speak No Evil. I hadn't seen a trailer
Mm.
for it until the second time I saw Deadpool and Wolverine, but immediately after I saw that trailer, I went on Twitter, like after, like, later that day, and just saw a lot of people like complaining about that trailer. Like every single time I go to the theater, this trailer plays. I just find that funny. It's like I don't know if anyone was actually seeing it, but they all saw that trailer.
I mean, gotta get it out somehow.
Yeah, but regardless, I think especially coming out in September before the new Transformers would have been it would have been a really good place for it. Um, but it's not. So we gotta wait at least a year, probably a year and a half. So hopefully not 2027, but if the rumors are somehow true, or if it just takes that long, then so be it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it takes.
Yeah. Speaking of more Spider-Man stuff, um, again, it's a very, very dumb Spider-Man thing. Apparently, even though they have found a director who I'll get to in just a second, apparently Sony and Marvel are still beefing about the direction they want this new Spider-Man movie to go. Sony wants it to be another multiversal epic Spider-Man story with all three Spider people fighting probably Null the symbiote king or whatever who's going to show up in Venom 3, whereas Marvel wants it to be a more grounded street level superhero movie, maybe with light multiversal elements because we are in that era of Marvel. Like it'll be a street level movie. Apparently, who's to say if this is actually true? But apparently, an early script design had him teaming up with Daredevil to take out the Kingpin. I don't know if that was ever actually a thing, or again, or someone just threw that out there on Twitter for likes. But regardless, that's the kind of thing people want from Spider-Man right now.
Yeah, and I mean, we've literally already done everything with the whole Infinity War Endgame thing, and then just unreal stuff with No Way Home, with just getting all the Spider
Mm-hmm.
people together. So it's kind of like, especially how that movie ended with kind of starting from scratch,
Mm-hmm.
no real allies, no real. It very much feels like a very street level start from scratch Spider-Man
Yeah.
time, and I think that would be good to kind of go from there, kind of build that back up, especially since we're going to be doing an Avengers movie pretty soon, so
Mm-hmm.
we'll get back to big Spider-Man stuff soon.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like this is the perfect time to have just a bunch of a bunch of Spider-Man villains who have never been on screen before show up. Like at the end of the Echo show, Kingpin mentioned how he wants to kind of, you know, go back to New York and try to shore up the power vacuum that's currently, there. Like you could have people like Silvermane, Tombstone, Hammerhead. Like there's a bunch of other, classic Spider-Man mobster type people who could try to, challenge Kingpin. Probably work with it first, and then eventually go against him. You could have someone potentially hire Scorpion to do whatever, and have Spider-Man deal with that. um, you could have Vulture actually come back and not have him not stuck in the Morbius universe. That'd be great.
I still don't get what the point of that was.
No idea. It was just for the trailers, and they
Like,
had to commit to it. I just feel like there are so many stories that can be told with Spider-Man at this point in his career, and instead Sony wants to try to connect it to all the slop they've been putting out over the past however long now, and I don't want that.
no, because those movies aren't. I mean, no. I mean, like, first of all, half those movies are awful. Like,
Most of them.
legitimately awful.
Like one is terrible, and the first Venom is
Yeah.
just okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, you could argue the Venom movies have made enough money that, like, you could be like, oh, these are somewhat successful. But now the other two are, like, laughably bad. Just straight up, like, no, this shouldn't
No.
exist. Don't even get me started on what are we, like, I mean, what is this, like, I mean, Craven and, like, oh, we're doing,
Yeah,
for some
Madam Web
reason,
was early this year.
and
Didn't even
Madam
break 100
Web,
million.
just
Venom
terrible,
3 looks
Morbius
interesting at least.
memes. I mean, it looks fine, but like even Venom 3's trailer knows we're just doing this because we need to do three of them.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, man. It's just kind of,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I think Sony's trying to like connect because it's like, hey, we need like something to keep us going, and they're Marvel's kind of like, that's not our problem, essentially.
Yeah, and like because those movies exist, you can't do a Craven the Hunter versus Spider-Man. You can't even really do Venom right in this universe. Not that I think
Oh.
Morbius deserves to be the villain of a movie, but like you can't do Morbius.
Morbius could be done,
Rhino's
right?
gonna
Like
be in
again,
the Craven movies. You can't do Rhino either.
that's my thing. It's like we're using all these characters without Spider-Man, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
why? Like, what was the
I
point of
know.
this? But
Like there's rumors
I
that
don't
the
know.
chameleon might show up within that movie too, so you can't do that either. Like those are three very big name Spider-Man villains who either haven't been done or haven't been done correctly in a movie. So they Marvel proper doesn't get to use them, and that's annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, this would be a good time to bring in Black Cat. He's
That's what I
like
was thinking.
maybe trying to, still trying to win back Zendaya, or MJ, whatever. But like, that's a good time for, possible, other love interests to come up.
Yeah, you have this. That could be interesting. Like, I feel like now it's like you could introduce him to other essential Spider-Man slash Peter Parker characters. Like
Mm-hmm.
you could do like a Harry and like a Felicia, and like
Yep.
just kind of see see what else is out there, Gwen Stacy or something like that. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
there's still a lot of characters you can use that haven't really been touched on yet, so you could go from there. And then who knows? Maybe he runs into MJ later, and then she's like accurate MJ or something, like more
Mm-hmm.
leans more into like I guess not so much modeling. I guess she's like a journalist now in like a lot of comics, so like maybe I mean, but not
I
Lois
personally
Lane, but
take issue with because she's just Lois Lane again. Like that's a little
I
boring,
think
but
it is, but at the same time, for story reasons, it does make sense because, like, you
yeah.
can't. There's not a lot of excuses you can have your like model love interest just around for Spider-Man stuff. At least if you're like a journalist, it makes sense for you to show up when crazy stuff happens.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah. So I hope they figure that out. I really hope it's just a more grounded, street level movie. Um, not every Spider-Man movie needs to be this, giant epic thing. Spider-Man 2, you know, arguably the best Spider-Man movie. Doc Ock is the villain of that, and like, nothing super crazy there.
I mean, you don't have to break the multiverse to have a great movie. I mean, when you do, it can still be great, obviously. But like,
Absolutely.
you can have a regular, casual, street level Spider-Man movie. Because again, it is Spider-Man. Like, not every story that is loved by this character is the most, world-breaking thing. Some things are just, casual. There's a villain needs to get stopped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but regardless, Spider-Man 4 is happening, and they finally nailed down a director. They got Destin Daniel Cretton to direct it, who he directed the first Shang-Chi movie, and there's plans for Shang-Chi 2. He was also on the books to make Wonder Man. I think the production of that is actually going pretty well, so I don't know if like he'll be working on these simultaneously or that'll go on hold. Um, but regardless, Shang-Chi 2 is is going to be pushed to start filming after Spider-Man 4 is done, which like I know that he could do a good Spider-Man, but Shang-Chi came out before No Way Home, and now its sequel is coming out after that movie's sequel. That's a little. I don't really love that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, I think it can definitely be time for a more casual fix. I mean, we haven't done like a lower level Spider-Man thing in a while because, No Way Home is a big deal, obviously. Vendors, Infinity War Endgame's a big deal. I mean, even Far From Home, even though it was a ruse, had like the idea of the multiverse as
Mm-hmm.
well, which like we realized cat, but like, at the time we didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, like
So,
even the Spider Verse movies are obviously big multiversal
right.
epics. Even the Spider Man video games, like multiverse was a side quest, but it was still there. But even the main quest, like I feel like Venom got a little too big for what the character usually does.
So cool though.
It's
So
cool,
awesome.
yeah. Dragon wings, sure, why not? But still, like him trying to almost taking over the entire world with symbiotes is it's a little bigger than I feel that game should have gone. But that's whatever.
Yeah, but like, come on, like that was cool.
Yeah, it was. It was. Um, but yeah, like, but because this guy is directing it, the fight scenes are going to be incredible. I feel like Shang-Chi is one of the better, obviously better, one of the best choreographed of the MCU, one of the best looking Marvel movies of the last, several years. I think that, him directing could, assuming the villain is, the villain or villains are right, as long as it doesn't try to get any bigger than it needs to be. Um, I think we could be in for something really cool. However, there is a lot of room for error, especially when Sony is trying to you know barge in where they're not wanted.
Yeah, let's hope not. I mean, I get they're trying to, make the best of what they have, but please no.
Yeah, yeah,
Don't ruin what could be a great thing by trying to force these other Sony things on it.
yeah. So that's planning on to begin filming early next year. Um, there's rumors of it either being February 2026 or July of 2026, so either the one right before or right after uh, uh, Avengers 5. So I
Okay.
think that could also potentially determine what kind of movie it is, because if Doomsday goes anywhere like the first part of the Secret Wars comic event, if Doctor Doom wins, he'll kind of rewrite the universe in his own image to like create this new world that has it's called Battle World, that has all the different like multiverses kind of collectively together, the like kind of puppets. So Spider-Man 4 might happen on that planet. That's what one of the rumors is saying. But if it does take that February slot, which is possible, especially if a lot of the like CG and pre-res and stuff happens before you start filming, it's theoretically if it can do if it hard release dates that February, I think the chances of it being not a multiversal epic are way higher.
Yeah.
So
which I think would just be better, at least for now.
Yes, absolutely. Again, as long as Sony just stays out of it.
Let's hope so.
Speaking of Sony making questionable decisions,
oh boy, I know where this is going.
The PlayStation 5 Pro was announced last week for $700.
Yep. Keep in mind, this is without a disc drive. This is just the digital.
Oh yeah, for $80 extra, you can get that disc drive.
Yes.
Which
no, I mean
is
no.
Go, please go.
First of all, how dare you? Like that is unreal. Like that is $700 is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the SpongeBob movie where he's like, $100 for a Krabby Patty with cheese, Mr. Squidward. Like as he's writing, it's like, bro, like $700. Like, yeah, but it's the Pro. It's like
they're not even giving you cheese. That was literally my analogy, where it's as if Burger King had like this super deluxe ultra whopper, but you had to pay extra for cheese.
Right?
It's like a $40 burger. It doesn't even come with cheese. You got to spend extra $6
yeah,
cheese on it.
Like what? But it's like so dumb. It's like, I mean, my thing is like, whenever they have like the pros or whatever, or like it's like, sure, they might have stuff a little bit better, but it's not worth. I mean, the digital version of PS5 is like $400 right now.
400.
So like,
well, actually, hang on. That's part of the story here, because when the PS5 was first launched, the all digital version was 400. The one with the disc drive was 5. And then last year they came out with the PS5 Slim. The PS5 Slim digital was $450, and the PS5 Slim with the disc drive was $500. So even though it's a smaller system, they somehow got away with making it more expensive on the low end. They were able to keep the PS5 regular, Slim 500, but they actually increased the digital one. So it's $450. Mm-hmm. And they didn't announce any kind of price cut for those when the Pro was announced, like they did when the PS4 Pro came out. Because when the PS4 Pro was announced in 2016, they announced the PS4 Slim along with it for, I think, either $50 or $100 less than it had been going for. So it was at least some kind of price cut for the base model, and the Pro model was like $100 more than whatever that was. That makes sense. That makes complete sense. No. You're going to keep your $500 SKU, and then on top of that, a $700 option.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Like,
why?
First of all, no, like, do not buy it. This is a waste of, like, they literally were like, we saw other people scalping, now we're doing the scalping from the source. Right. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, $700? It's not. You cannot convince me that it's worth it at all.
Maybe I'm a
No.
loser who just likes Nintendo games, but I don't care about graphics that much. I don't care like that it can run every game in 120 frames a second at 4K. I don't give a crap about that stuff. I'm not a game reviewer. I don't play games professionally. That doesn't affect me. You and me, we don't need it.
I mean, my thing is, if you can actually tell the difference between 60 FPS and 120 FPS, you probably like make video games. So it's
Yeah.
like I don't like. Can you like? You can't like. It's like they're saying a lot of stuff, and it's kind
Hmm.
of like. I mean, that sounds great, I guess, but like
Yeah.
actually playing the thing, it's not gonna feel any
Yeah.
different.
And
I no.
I think one of the most revealing things about the presentation they gave especially was when every single like side by side comparison shot. They had like a Ratchet and Clank scene. They had some racing game. They had Spider-Man, Hogwarts Legacy, a couple other like side by side comparison stuff. Almost every single side by side comparison they showed, a character was standing completely still, and they were like zooming in on things in the background that I would never notice during regular gameplay. If I was just playing Ratchet and Clank, I wouldn't care that I could read that sign a little better in the background if I'm going towards it anyway. Like, why would I care if in this one street of New York I can like the trees are a little more detailed. I'm not gonna be here very long. I'm just gonna swing right by it.
What's my thing? I'm like, I'm swinging this fast. I'm not gonna. And then, and again, if it's just a little more expensive, sure, but that's not $300+ worth of detail at all. Like that's just like, come on, man.
Like, especially since most TVs can't even output 120 FPS. I know mine doesn't. Granted, if you
That's
spend
like the
seven
biggest.
hundred dollars on a console, you probably do have a TV that that has that
Right, but that's the thing.
still.
It's like that's like you know what I mean. You have to do all this extra stuff for like the smallest improvement that 90% of people couldn't even tell looking at it. So it's like, I mean, it's better, but like not nearly for what it's worth.
Absolutely. And just a couple of things about the way this has been presented so far. So, first of all, we already discussed that the disk drive is sold separately. Complete scumbag move on their part. What the heck are you
100%.
doing? $700 and you can't even play your physical games on it? Ridiculous. I don't care that the vast majority of the gaming industry is going towards all digital.
No,
Not everybody is.
no.
It's hmm?
And I agree. And I mean, this like this whole like digital thing they're pushing. It's 100% on purpose because they know
Yeah.
they're trying to monopolize what games you can have, and you're gonna buy games digitally, and then somehow, some way, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, we don't support these games digitally anymore, and then they're gonna like somehow make it so you can't play games you spent full 60, $70 on
Mm-hmm.
at launch, and then they're
Yeah.
not gonna. Oh, we've decided this game's not good anymore, and it's like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And speaking of
what?
the price, like it's kind of a meme that for most first party Sony games, a lot of third party games, if you wait like a couple of months, the game will be discounted in Walmart or whatever for like at least $20
Oh yeah,
off. Or Amazon has deals
oh
all the
yeah.
time on physical media. Whereas, you know, Sony's digital front, they're just gonna keep it 70 for the
Never
entire
goes
time.
down. Yes,
Like,
never goes down ever. Like games, like there are games that came out almost like 10 years ago that are still full price on the PlayStation Store.
yeah.
It's like I can get this anywhere for $10.
hmm And so if they're really trying, since they're really trying to push you to go all digital, they completely control the price that they, and also not to mention, it was always like when digital storefronts started popping up during the PS3, Xbox 360 era, there, I don't remember this was like actually said by any bigwigs over there or if it was just something that was speculating, but I thought the idea was if it's sold digitally, it would be a little cheaper because you don't have to have to pay for shipping and the packaging and the store's cut. You could probably get like a solid 10-20 bucks off your purchase just
It
based on
should
that. But
be.
no, they're gonna sell those games for $70 on the storefront
Yep.
and get
And
all
it's
that in
not gonna
profit.
go. Yep, all in profit, and it's not gonna go down in price. And they're just hoping that you just get lazy and just decide, oh, I don't want to look for it. Just send it to, or they're gonna stop. I feel like the next console, they might just not make a digital version. Like, I think they're really gonna stop making like physical copies of games and everything. Just like how now everything's streaming and it's convenient and it's nice until you can't find anything anywhere.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well.
Mm-hmm. And I think the thing that bugs me the absolute most is one of the big selling points for PS5 Pro is that they said that, there'll be a lot of upscaling for PS5 and PS4 games. And they have a giant list of PS4 games that'll get, these updates. If there's no disk drive, how am I supposed to get my PS4 games looking better?
I think that's one of those things they were hoping you didn't ask. It's like, I wish you hadn't picked this. It's like the classic, like every show ever when there's like a trader and he's like, I wish you hadn't noticed that last part. He shoots the dot.
So you're gonna make me spend $80 to then get marginal increases on my PS4 games. I don't like that on top of the $700 for the base system. That's ridiculous.
$700. And he said it like it's not like I like how like you say it like it's not like a big. I'm like that's enormous. Like are you insane?
Back in E3 2005, I think it was 05, when the PS3 was officially announced. It was a meme back in 2005 that the PS3 had two different SKUs, one for $499 and one for $599 US. Like that was a meme. If things were like expensive, it was like $599 US. Like that was. And then, and that alone almost costed Sony the entire generation. It took them until like 2 years before the PS4 came out for them to catch up to the 360 sales wise because it was too expensive out of the gate. And then when PS4 came out, they wisened up and priced it at $400. That was a good sweet spot. And then just because economical changes since then, $500 felt about right in 2020 when PS5 came out. But we're in this crazy era of, yes, there are economical forces that are causing certain things to be more expensive than they have previously. But I really do feel like corporate greed is at an all-time high to the point where systems just don't get discounted ever. This has never happened before in the history of games, as far as I know. We've never gone this far into a generation without any kind of price cuts for any systems.
And I mean, it's one of those things where, like, I think the gaming industry is just realizing, like, we don't have to, like, give them discounts. Because at the end of the day, like, granted, not so much for the PS5 Pro, but I mean, for as far as games, like, it's not like people aren't going to buy consoles. Like, it's going to happen. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I remember growing up, like, something comes out, you wait a few months or maybe for a console a year or two, and it was like the price that it was when it came out because that's just how things were. You're getting ready for the next one, and things just appreciate value. Now it's like, I mean, the PS5 has been out for years.
4 years. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, granted, like COVID and everything kind of stunted things, kind of with the whole scalping thing, but it's like. Sony ain't hurting. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
their gaming division is doing very well.
Yeah.
And like, generally speaking, especially with Sony, ever since the PS2, whenever the slim model comes out, that's the time where they start phasing out the old one and have the new slim one for that reduced price. But this time they made it more expensive.
Yes,
Because they
which
can.
is so weird. It's like you made like, granted, it's a better version, but it's marginally better at best, and then you just hawked up the price insanely,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like, what is like? I'm hoping this is like a, I don't want to say catastrophic deal, but I hope this like blows up in their face hardcore. It seems like it's
Mm-hmm.
starting to, because people are definitely like, what the heck, kind of across the board. And I hope they don't, like, this gets showed down. Other, like, and other companies are like, okay, let's not do that, because that
Mm-hmm.
did not go well.
Yeah, like kind of two things on that. One, I think even Sony kind of recognizes how this looks because they didn't verbalize the pricing. It was just on a slide at the very end of their presentation for all of 2 seconds. Like, here's the prices, end of show. They didn't say it. They didn't say it was costing $800 in Europe. They didn't say it's costing over 1,000 yen or whatever. Like, with the when you convert it, like they didn't say those prices. You just got to read it, move on. I was like, so I think even they realize that 700 is a pretty big pill for their fan base to swallow.
And yet they still said it there. It's like, if
They
you
said
know
it.
it's too much, it's, if only someone had the power to change it. Oh, wait, you said it there in the first place. Like,
And kind of actually three things. The second thing on that slide, again, all of 2 seconds, end of show, down at the bottom, not only they didn't say that it's an all digital version. You had to figure that out later. They also, even though in that screenshot, the PlayStation 5 Pro is standing upright, the stand that it's sitting on is sold separately. So in order to get the console the way it is presented in this official presentation, you have to buy an extra thing.
right? You get all these extra add-ons, all like, it's one of those things where like, they're just like, you're kind of just like, why are you trying to pretend to not trying to be scummy right now? It's
Mm-hmm.
like, we see you, we're not dumb. Like, just
And
own it.
I do kind of feel like this is not going to go the way Sony thinks it will. Like how well they think it's going to go, I don't think it's going to go even that much because according to like some video game analyst, he specifically was looking at the U.S. market, but this can be extrapolated based on other data he got. Um, During the PS4's time on the market, it sold approximately 117, 118-ish million units. Approximately 13% of that total sales was PS4 Pro. So only 13%, and that was on the market for 4 years before the PS5 came out. Only 13% of the people cared enough during that era to buy. I think the PS4 Pro was only $400. It might have been 500, but regardless, it's not $700. This thing that's only a little more expensive than the PS4 was at the time. Only 13% of people cared enough to buy a PS4 Pro. I really, really don't think the PS5 Pro will be even close to that small percentage.
No. And I mean, the reasoning is because, again, like we've gone over, it's marginally better. Price is exponentially higher for no reason. Not to mention the no disk drive, all this other crap, and still, like, not to be mean, but like, still the lack of PS5 games worth getting for a lot of people. Which, like, that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of my other thing. It's like, I mean, there are some games coming out pretty soon that I'm excited
Sure.
about. Don't get me wrong, but like for the most part, we're still kind of lacking on the PS5 games in
Hmm.
general. So I feel like the fact that we're already getting a Pro is kind of a bit of a bit much, especially when it's
And
crazy in price.
that's another kind of hilarious thing about the timing of this announcement because the week before this was announced, Sony had one of the strangest weeks in video games I have ever seen. So back in it was like May when Sony had basically their equivalent of an E3 press conference thing. They announced this live service Overwatch clone shooter called Concord. Um, and the trailer looks weird. Like all the
Yeah.
characters looked like they were off-brand Guardians of the Galaxy characters. You want to
Mm-hmm.
talk about yeah
Yeah, I know it's.
yeah
Oh yeah, I know it's. I want to hear you
yeah,
say it
and
anyway.
then like yeah, so like they're acting like they're in a bad Marvel movie, like not just Marvel humor, it's bad Marvel humor. Like the people like the kind of humor that people like point out in bad movies and claim as Marvel humor, but it's like way worse. You know what I'm talking about. Like like that kind of weirdness was happening in the opening cinematic, and then it cut to gameplay, and if you didn't know it wasn't Overwatch, you would just think they're playing Overwatch. Um,
100%.
and then like all the trailers and like vignettes and character like you know stuff just didn't grab anybody. Just no one seemed to really care at all about this game. And then the beta came out, the free beta open for anybody, had like 1,000 players at its peak. The free beta had not hardly anybody playing it. And then they had the
Ooh.
gall to release it for $40 back in early August. And then
Nope.
3 weeks later, it's gone. The game is gone. They delisted it. They refunded everybody who bought it. They're pretending like it doesn't exist.
Dude, that is rough. I mean, don't get me wrong. That kind of felt like a dumpster fire going in. But I mean, that is rough. Your game basically had a shelf life of 3 weeks. First of all, no one's playing the beta. Don't even release the game. That's
No,
that's just sad. I mean,
like
for one,
they
but
pro-
also like,
there's projections that this game sold 25,000 copies total across PlayStation and PC. 25.
oh, oh dear. Yeah, that's a loss.
Yeah,
That is wow. I mean,
like
granted, yes, it did. I mean, like from what I saw, it looked like a serious Overwatch clone, but like worse.
mhm.
But also, like, I mean, that's rough, even for that. Like, I would expect
Yeah.
it to get more than that. Like, that's really bad.
Hmm. Yeah. So so that happened. But then this little game called Astrobot came out the day that game shut down. It's like a little like 3D platformer. It's technically the third in its franchise. The first Astrobot was a basically like the showpiece for their first VR system. The second one was like basically a digital pack-in title with every PS5, and it's like the first on like true release. And apparently, it's a very very solid game. So you lost one game, but you gained one more. So you're net zero. So that's fun.
I mean, that's good for at least like getting back on the board, I guess. But
Yeah, but so the Astrobot comes out the day that Concord dies, and then 3 days later, or like Friday, that Tuesday, they announced the PS5 Pro. So like goodwill for PlayStation was already not in the best place. If Concord was at least a modest hit and Astrobot had come out and obviously was well received as it was, and then they released that presentation for the PS5 Pro and it was like $600. obviously people would still be a little miffed that that it's more and they didn't decrease the price of the originals, but at least I feel like 600 would have been a way more reasonable price, especially since there's no disk drive.
Yeah, but even then, I'm kind of like you said, like I'd rather you reduce the price of the current and then bring in the new one at that price or slightly above, and then go from there. Not this whole like, oh, we'll just like throw an extra $200-300 on the price of it just because we can, and like not reduce the current price either because
we don't have to for Sony.
Yeah, I mean they don't have to, but it's not. I think people are gonna buy the regular versions. I think the Pro is not gonna sell. I think some people. I mean, those. There's always those one nerds who are like, "Oh, the FPS is just it's too good to pass up," and then they like throw their money away. But I mean, I think the vast majority of people is gonna be like, "This is a scam."
Yeah, yeah. Like as someone who doesn't currently own a PS5, I definitely not gonna entice me to get one.
I mean, as someone who is going to be getting a PS5 in the next probably month, there's no chance I'm getting a Pro. I wouldn't consider even getting a Pro.
I mean, in a perfect world, the PS5 Pro comes out like November 7th or somewhere around there. In a perfect world, PS5 Pro comes out in November, and then Black Friday, they at least have one major sale for the regular PS5s. Like knock it down like $100 just for that, holiday season. They can go back up in January, but at least, the PS5 Pro is out. But if you don't want that, you can at least get, the, the inferior product for this cheaper amount. But even then, I don't know if I haven't really been keeping up exactly with Sony and Xbox's Black Friday sales, but yeah, I don't know.
I mean, maybe with Black Friday, but I mean, I don't know. I'm like, no. Like this, the thing it lost me.
Yeah, like it's what because imagine being a kid and really wanting a PlayStation and like begging your parents for the new, the new shiny PlayStation. And a parent, like I personally, even as a kid, wouldn't feel justified begging my parents for a $700 system like that.
No, but I mean, I guess depending on the kid, I'm like, do you even realize how much that is? Because like, sure, like as an adult,
perceive that much power. Like, what are you doing?
I mean, my thing is like 700. I mean, like, in a normal economy, that's like rent, but like, where we're at. Yeah. But I mean, but it's like, I mean, like $700 is insane for a gaming console of any capacity, let alone one that arguably doesn't really need to be made at this point.
Yeah,
in my opinion. But
I've seen some people give lukewarm arguments about like, oh well, a PC that is equivalent power to the PS5 Pro would cost you upwards of $1,500. Well, computers do a lot more than just play video games. The computer I'm using right now is it's designed to be a gaming PC, but I'm doing this. You can't really do this with with a PlayStation.
And a PlayStation.
Oh.
Also, like, Also, like the argument too is like that argument. I don't know. That argument for me just is blowing hot noise. It's like just because it costs as much as something else that's overpriced does not mean I want to buy it anymore.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like if someone's ripping me off, they can't. Like I hate that argument because people will be like, "Oh well, you're gonna." I'm like, "That's too much." Oh well, over there, there's something for this. I'm like, Okay, well they're selling it for too much too. Like, that doesn't make it like you still need to put your price down. Like that doesn't
Hmm.
make it. Oh my, yeah, I always hate that argument. It's like I'm not asking you how much they're selling it for. I'm asking you for how much you're selling it for and why it's too much. But
Hmm.
yeah, this is not going to go well for Sony. I hope this becomes so much of a meme that it's just like no one buys it, but we'll see.
Yeah. Speaking of memes, um, got the first trailer for that Minecraft movie.
Oh dear.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, yeah, I did.
Um, oh boy, why is this movie live action?
Dude,
What is this?
I don't like this. Is like it looks like one of those like this just doesn't make any sense to me because it's like it's literally one of the most games. I know that didn't make any sense, but like you know what I mean. Like Minecraft is not
Mm,
something that needs people in it, like
yeah,
at all.
like
Like it's Minecraft. Like just have like little Steve and Minecraft characters be the characters. And like I mean,
mhm,
like we just did this with the Mario movie. Like they did like
yeah.
everyone's just fits in the world perfectly. There's no weird forced comedy and oh, it's funny because he's a person. Like no, just make it a good movie that just had like I don't know, man. And like don't get me wrong, I love me some Jack Black. I do. But like
Like it's just
cringe.
Jack Black in a blue shirt. Like I don't not that I was I don't know what I was expecting, but
I mean,
I think here a major problem I have with this movie existing in the first place is Minecraft, at least the game that it was shipped as, without any mods, without any online interaction, without like all that nonsense, which like is part of the game, but like as far as just Minecraft, is a very slow, methodical, almost somber, like very like meticulous experience that like you find your own fun in, but like it it's not a loud video game. Like the music is very soft. Steve doesn't speak. Like if you didn't know his name was Steve, he wouldn't even use he would just be your name, whatever name you give him. Um, like it's very atmospheric, and I feel like casting Jack Black as Steve, one of like again, I like you said, I really like Jack Black, but he's a very loud human. I just don't think that I don't think that that's the kind of energy you want to give, at least for what a Minecraft movie should be.
yeah, and I mean, and it's weird too because like everything else looks really solid. I think I like how they really like it looks like Minecraft. Everything kind of its blocky forms of itself with like the animals and things like that. But
Mm.
then it's like, oh yeah, it's just people. Like
Well,
no like block versions of that. Like
yeah.
I don't know, man. Like it just feels so. It feels like somebody who's never played Minecraft like watched 5 seconds of Minecraft and said, "Oh, I can do that," and then
Hmm.
let me like just threw it some together, and it's like this is really dumb.
And like they're totally gonna do a thing where the humans find it's gonna like start in our world, and the humans are in this on this group, and they like some portal activates. It's like, oh, what's that portal? They walk through the portal, and then they're in Minecraft, and the Steve shows up, and like
Mhm.
find out that Steve has been trapped here for hundreds of years because he found a portal like that, however long ago, and like that's I don't.
I mean, it feels
Everything,
like
yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
God. No.
And like it's a little thing, but it just kind of proves that no one on this movie really wanted to make a Minecraft movie. When the when the one scene where they're actually crafting something, like Jason Momoa's character like puts like a couple of like iron pieces on a crafting table and like slams it, and it turns into like these two buckets with a chain connecting them. That's not an item in the game. What are you doing? Like, yeah, there is a bucket item, but it's not that bucket. Like, it's the brand new recipe. Like, unless that's gonna be ported into the game after that's I don't. Again, it's a little
I mean,
bit.
it's one of
It's maybe a nitpick, but it's a weird choice
no. That's
to
a
do
real.
that.
It's one of those things where it really points out that no one who had like no one who's like none of the like executives or probably writers either have like touched Minecraft really. They just know it's a popular game with the young people, and then they're like, what else do young people like? They love Jack Black. And they love Dwayne Johnson. We can't get Dwayne Johnson. Dang it! Who do we get? Jason Momoa. Like, you know what I mean? It's like
He
I
looks so
just,
out of
I'm sure
place with
Kevin
this
Hart was
movie.
busy, so like, I
Uh,
mean, this feels like this feels like Jumanji, but like worse and like
yeah,
less inspired and like has better source material, but they're choosing to ignore it, which is really weird.
mm, yeah, and like I don't necessarily agree with your sentiment that the CG looks good. I think it looks gross and not on purpose.
But
Like
like,
it doesn't look stylized. It doesn't look, yeah, like if like the piglins, like the things coming that are like flying on the, I don't know how much you know about Minecraft, but like those like pig people are like flying in that one scene. Like if they look gross, like yeah, sure, they come from basically like the Minecraft version of hell. Like yeah, they look gross. That's fine because they're supposed to be like demon pig people. But why does the sheep look like that? Why does the creeper have fur? That's not what that's supposed to. Like they've always been like portrayed as scaly, but whatever. Um, I just like the trees look more or less fine. I just wish that they had. If you're gonna make the humans come into this world, from a portal, which is what it seems like they're doing, go like super stylized with it. Basically, have it look more or less like the game. You have like basically like a pirate shader on it or whatever, but I don't really love the aesthetic the movie's going for personally.
yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll have to see, but
Yeah,
eh,
I,
I don't know.
I don't get it. I don't know why this is the movie they decide to make with Minecraft, especially since like CG Minecraft animations have been a thing on YouTube for over a decade now, and they most all of them look really good. Some of them are like full on like stories that exist within Minecraft, and I feel like doing this as a CG movie would work, especially after the success of Mario. But I just don't know. This is it.
Yeah, this feels really like just fall on their face bad, but we'll have to see. But
Luckily, there aren't that many movies that I'm interested in seeing between now and March. So I'm not going to be inundated with seeing this trailer in the movie theater every single time I go. So at least there's that. Okay. Um, I think that's all the topics I have today. Is there anything else you want to bring up or discuss before we sign off?
I don't think so. No, I think we're good.
All right. So with that, we will see you all next time.
Take care, everyone.